I'm missing.
When we get closer, send him blind.
Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think Jay is missing because he was going
Oh.
to sign back in.
That's right. As soon as we get Jay on, Max, I'll give you a nod.
Well, it looks like the infection rates are starting to slowly come back down. So maybe we'll
Yeah.
avoid this IT stuff and get back in person soon.
Please hold, everyone. We're waiting for Commissioner Legree to get back on. The video has started, though.
Can you hear me, Max?
Mayor, you may proceed.
Thank you. Commissioner Legree, if you freeze up again, I'd suggest just continuing because we will be able to hear your audio as far as I know. Just to have a static photo. So hopefully you're fine for this meeting. I'd like to start the meeting. Thank you, Max. It is Friday, September 17th, 2021. Out of an abundance of caution, this is being conducted as a virtual regular meeting of the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 2:07 p.m. According to the charter, this is called our annual organization meeting of commissioners, at which newly elected officers assume the duties of their respective offices, first being duly sworn or affirmed to perform their duties with fidelity, which oath or affirmation shall be taken before a notary public, a justice of the peace, or by a holding over member of the commissioners. We're going to get right into that and offer the administrative oath of office to the commissioners elected during the 2021 annual municipal election, starting off with Commissioner-elect Timothy Bennett and then Commissioner-elect Mary A. Tony Sharp. Judge? There you go.
Okay. Okay, and who might? Okay. Okay, so, Mr. Bennett, you just repeat after me, please, and raise your right hand. I, and state your full name,
I, Timothy Joseph Bennett,
do proudly swear
do proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities
to carry out the responsibilities
of the office of Commissioner
of the Office of Commissioner
of the City of Rehoboth Beach,
of the City of Rehoboth Beach,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
freely acknowledging
freely acknowledging
that the powers of this office
that the powers of this office
flow from the people
flow from the people
I am privileged to represent.
I am privileged to represent.
I further swear
I further swear
always to place
always to place
the public interest
the public interest
above any special
above any special
or personal interests,
or personal interest,
and to respect
and to respect
the right of future generations
the right of future generations
to share the rich historic
to share the rich historic
and natural heritage of Delaware.
and natural heritage of Delaware.
In doing so,
In doing so,
I will always
I will always
uphold and defend
uphold and defend
the constitutions of my country
the constitutions of my country,
and my state,
the state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Commissioner Bennett. Welcome aboard. Give us 1 minute. The judge is going to go over to Commissioner-elect Mary A. Tony Sharp, and we'll get her sworn in.
Okay. I guess we're ready. Just raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me.
I, Mary Antoinette Sharp,
Do proudly swear
do proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities
to carry out the responsibilities
of the office of Commissioner
of the Office of Commissioner
of the City of Rehoboth Beach
of the City of Rehoboth Beach
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
freely acknowledging
freely acknowledging
that the powers
that the powers
of this office
of this office
flow from the people
flow from the people
I am privileged to represent.
I am privileged to represent.
I further swear
I further swear
always to place
always to place
the public interest
the public interest
above any special
above any special
or personal interest,
or personal interest,
and to respect
and to respect
the right of future generations
the right of future generations
to share the rich historic
to share the rich, historic,
and natural heritage
and natural heritage
of Delaware.
of Delaware.
In doing so,
In doing so,
I will always
I will always
uphold and defend
uphold and defend
the constitutions of my country
the constitutions of my country
and my state,
and my state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to go to roll call, if you would. Of course, raise your hand at the same time so it's easy to identify you. We're going to start at the top left corner of my screen with Commissioner Sharp,
Here.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Srnowski,
Here.
Commissioner Bennett,
Here.
Commissioner Gossett,
Here.
Commissioner Legree,
Here.
and Mayor Stan Mills is here. We have a full complement of the mayor and commissioners. And so we can formally do business today. And ladies and gentlemen, staff, everybody that's watching, please welcome all your new commissioners, Tony Sharp and Tim Bennett, and your entire new Board of Commissioners. With that, the next bit of business is we're going to have election of officers. I have if you recall in the past, Commissioner Patrick Gossett was the secretary. I'm nominating him and elevating him to vice president. Nominating Commissioner Susan Gay to step in for the treasurer's position. And Womack, of course, is assistant secretary. You recall my mention of Paula Simpson as treasurer, passed away recently after, I think, a 2-decade term. We'll be nominating Mary Moore of the second block of Baltimore, Maryland Avenue. So I would like to have a motion to adopt this particular slate of officers, please.
So move.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jay Legree and a second by Commissioner Susan Gay for the election of officers. Commissioner Patrick Gossett as vice president, Commissioner Susan Gay as secretary, and Womack as assistant secretary, and Mary Moore as treasurer. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mayor.
Yes.
I don't have any objection to the motion. I do have some questions though, if Glenn could clarify, because when you announced this, it made me I incorrectly assume that the vice mayor would become mayor in the in the event that there was a vacancy. However, the code is pretty clear that that's not the case. They just assume chairmanship of this board, and then this board would fill the vacancy of mayor. But my clarifying question is, you know, and I thought that because, you know, the requirement for mayor is obviously to be a resident. So if there were a vacancy of the commissioner with the title of mayor, would this body then have to fill that mayor portion of the job, if you will, by a resident commissioner, whether a current one or a new commissioner?
Yeah, I think that's correct, Commissioner. The role of mayor in the city of Rehoboth Beach requires that the commissioner with the title of mayor must be a resident.
Okay, I just
But
wanted some clarification around that.
But I'd also like you to confirm Commissioner Cernowski's explanation that upon the mayor leaving, that the vice president doesn't automatically step into the mayor's seat, that there is that process.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thanks for the clarification.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have, thanks.
So again, we have a motion on the floor and a second to adopt this slate of officers. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'm going to do a group vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to ask Glenn to read the bank resolution. That's next for us to vote on.
Resolution, be it resolved that the treasurer of the city of Rehoboth Beach be and she is hereby authorized to open and maintain a bank account in any bank authorized to do business in the state of Delaware, which has an office within 5 miles of the corporate limits of the city of Rehoboth Beach. And be it further resolved that Stanley A. Mills, Jr., Mayor of the city of Rehoboth Beach and President of the Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach, and J. Patrick Gossett, Vice President of the Commissioners, or either of those two, and Mary Moore, Treasurer of the city of Rehoboth Beach, shall be authorized signatories of any bank account opened by the treasurer. And be it further resolved that checks, drafts, notes, and other instruments or documents drawn on the city's accounts may bear the fax signature of Stanley A. Mills, Jr., Mayor of the city of Rehoboth Beach and President of the Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach, and that fax specimen of such signatures shall be filed with banks where the city deposits its funds. Will be signed by the secretary.
Thank you, Glenn. This is not something not normally embedded in the agenda, so that's why I wanted him to read it to you. Are there any questions among the commissioners about the bank resolution?
I've got a quick one, Mayor.
Yes.
Glenn, why use the language 5 miles from the city limits of Rehoboth? I think our charter has specific language that it's a freeholder of Lewis and Rehoboth 100, and that they would be a resident in said town as well. Is there a reason why you're not using the language that's in the charter and 5 miles from the city?
That's a good question that I don't have an answer to. This is the resolution that's been used for probably 15 years, I would guess. So I can't say why it's 5 miles. I'm happy to look into that. It is this meeting that you're supposed to adopt this sort of resolution. If you'd want to hold it off, I can try to do some quick-
I'm fine with it. Just, you know, in the future, we might want to make it so it's consistent with what the charter reads.
Yeah, I will look into it, because that is an interesting question.
But I'm fine moving forward with it.
You want this as a reminder?
Yeah, thanks.
Very good. With that, we're going to take a vote. This is to adopt the resolution as read, establishing opening of banking accounts. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Hold your hand up, please, so we can get a count.
Aye.
And I see there are no nays. The vote is unanimous to adopt that. If you want to execute that, if you'd take care of that, thank you. With that, our next bit of business is that I would like to welcome everybody that's watching remotely today. I'd also like to recognize the participants that pre-registered so that they have the ability to speak. That is Tom West, Carol Everhart, Dan Slagle, Greer Manival, Walter Brittingham, he's actually here, Richard Perry, and Frank Cooper. We'll call on you at the appropriate times during the meeting so that you have the opportunity to speak up and give us some input or feedback. With that, I also want to remind everybody that we have what we call support documents. They are documents that support the agenda topics that we use. And when ready in advance of the meeting, they are embedded in the agenda. So go to www.cityofrehoboth.com. On the right side, go to the legislative portal and then start searching for meetings and meeting agenda. And you'll be able to see the same documents that we have when they are ready in advance of the meeting. With that, I would like to just announce change in order as my prerogative. I'd like to move the Santa House topic to the first item of old business so that a participant can participate and be able to leave earlier than later. With that, we're going to go to correspondence, and I have none identified for this meeting. There are no minutes to approve, so we're going to move right along to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and commissioners, and welcome aboard Commissioners Bennett and Sharp. We do have one street aid to Delmarva Power in the amount of $9,558.90 for streetlights.
I move approval of street aid expenditure in the amount of $9,558.90.
Second.
Who seconded? Raise your hand. Okay, it helps me identify. We have a motion by Commissioner Sernowski and a second by Commissioner Sharp to authorize the city manager to pay Delmarva Power in the amount noted. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll do a group vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Hold your hand up.
Aye.
And that is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go to, yes, oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
The city is wrapping up the end of the season, as we all know. So beginning Monday, September 20th, residents will once again enjoy free parking throughout the city. The seasonal permitted or metered parking requirements end this Sunday. Through Wednesday of this current week, the revenue from 2021 permit sales totaled $1,092,415. This surpasses the 2020 totals by $317,738 and the 2019 totals by $89,315. Total all meter revenue is expected to meet the budgeted amount of $4,575,000, including the loss of approximately $150,000 for meterless Mondays. In other signs that the summer season is coming to a close, the Streets Department is consolidating work crews, so there will be no additional early morning or nighttime crews, and the city's water usage is down from the summer peak season. Only 2 to 3 treatment facilities have been needed in operation to maintain appropriate levels in the water towers. Repairs to Well 8 have been completed, and Well 8 is fully operational. The city, along with DelDOT and our consulting engineer, the Rossi Group, will host an open house from 9 a.m. to noon, Wednesday, September 29, to share streetscape concepts that have been developed for the Wilmington-Baltimore corridor, including First and Second Streets. The public is invited to attend the open house at the Rehoboth Beach Convention Center, where we'll have graphic displays depicting the suggested concepts. And we welcome any feedback, suggestions, and ideas. Attendance is on a drop-in basis between 9 and noon, and there will be no formal presentations made at that time, but we will be answering questions. Water Department employees, Robert Downs, the supervisor of the Water Department, and Jimmy Kersey have been attending the National Rural Water Conference in Milwaukee this week. I'm proud to announce that Jimmy is presenting at the Delaware Royal Waters Apprenticeship Program at one of the conference's technical sessions. He's a recent graduate of that program. The city hosted a pre-bid meeting related to water meter replacements on Tuesday. Bids for this project are scheduled to be opened September 28. And on Wednesday, the city had a pre-bid meeting for the Delaware Avenue Comfort Station project, and those bids will be opened on September 29. In recognition of National Coffee with a Cop Day, the City of Rehoboth Beach Police Department, Chief Banks and Lieutenant Sullivan will host Coffee with a Cop at Starbucks October 6th. That's Wednesday, October 6th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please stop in and order your selected coffee or beverage selection for Chief Banks to make for you. And that's what I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Sharon. If I recall, the chief indicated Coffee with a Cop. Please come in and challenge them with your hardest combination. See if they can see if they can do that. With that, we'll go to commissioner comments or questions. Commissioner Legree?
City Manager, did I hear you say that we'd had a drop in water consumption?
Correct.
Have we had a corresponding drop in sewer usage?
Correct. Yes.
And what was that? What was that percentage?
It's lower than what we've had in July and August. I don't know what the reading was in EDUs.
Okay. And you don't have the cumulative for the year? No. Okay. Thanks a lot. And tell me again the time for the coffee or with the Cobb. You said 9 to 11? Can't remember.
October 6th from 11 to noon.
11 to noon. Boy, am I going to enjoy this. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go to the city solicitor's report.
Let me just welcome Commissioner Bennett and welcome back Commissioner Sharp, but I don't have anything to report, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Glenn. Departmental reports are embedded. I'm sorry, Commissioner Sernowski. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question. Glenn, in the case regarding ClearSpace, my understanding is that there are options and timelines for the city to submit, to make some decisions and submit to the court. Is that accurate?
Well, there's a deadline for yes, that is accurate. There are some considerations. Now, remember, Max Walton will be representing the Board of Commissioners in the litigation. I'll have a peripheral role in my representation of the Planning Commission, but
yeah,
Max,
I'm not asking anything regarding the merits, just a procedural question.
yeah, I presume Max will be getting something to the Board of Commissioners, probably through the mayor, as to options and which direction to go. But there's not a looming deadline within the next couple of days. There's
Okay.
some time.
All right, understood. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. With that, departmental reports from Building and Licensing, Police Department, and Fire Department are embedded in the agenda. Likewise, the Planning Commission report submitted by the Chair, Mike Bryan, is embedded in the agenda for your viewing. With that, we'll go to committee reports.
Mayor, I have a question about the Planning Commission report.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Legay.
I did read the report, and I actually watched the meeting, and so that my question really is about the CDP update. And I understand we're having a special meeting on Monday, but I just have a request. I'm wondering if given all the questions that have come up about sample materials, if we could at least on Monday have the table of contents that's going to be in the CDP. I mean, since the draft is being issued in a couple of weeks, I feel certain the table of contents exists, and I think it would help us jumpstart our discussions on Monday.
All right, we'll take that into advisement. Thank you, Commissioner. Next item is committee reports. The only one identified is the Wilmington Baltimore Avenue Streetscape Task Force. Embedded in the agenda is the press release for that, as Sharon mentioned. There is a public workshop on Wednesday, September 29th between 9 and noon with just walk-in stations, not a definitive single presentation. And we invite property owners, residents, everybody to come and take a look at this concept that's being presented for renovations of a 7-block area, first 2 blocks of Baltimore, first 2 blocks of Wilmington, and connector streets on 1st and 2nd Streets. And that's all for my report there as chair. With that, we're going to go to liaison reports. We're going to start with the Chamber of Commerce. The liaison is Commissioner Gay.
And Carol Everhart is here, I believe.
Carol, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
You're fine. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Very quickly, of course, the kiosk on the boardwalk has been closed, but the visitor center is now open daily from 10 to 3. And I have reports that the visitation is much higher because of the bike trail. So those folks are coming in and find out. The 2021 visitor guides, there are over 100,000 out at this point. We're creating the 2022 visitor guides. They're in production, and that goes to the printer in November. So I mentioned that in case there is something that the city would like to see in their pages. September newsletter has been produced and printed and will be mailed by Monday. Sea Witch program is in production, goes to printer in the next 7 to 10 days. So we're on deadline. Of course, the Scarecrow Trail is underway, and that looks as though it's going to be a success again. They're getting their numbers. Accommodation occupancy, it remains at about 98% occupancy for all accommodations in all areas. So when we do the comparison, if we look at weekend highest number, Saturday night, last year, from January to the end of August, it was 57,631. This year, same time frame, 90,499. Wednesdays, midweek, 42,093 last year and 72,434 this year. And that would be my report.
Thank you, Carol. Any questions of Carol? Commissioner Gossett, please.
Yes, thank you for the update there. The report that you gave with regards to occupancy, that is the general membership of the chamber, not exclusively downtown properties. Is that correct or not?
No, that is the members of the chamber. So that includes Dewey, downtown Rehoboth, and Route 1, but in all areas for highest night occupancy is 98% plus, whether up to Dewey or Rehoboth or Route 1 or other.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, Carol. We appreciate it. With that, we'll go to the liaison of the Rehoboth Beach Historical Society, Commissioner Legree.
The Historical Society had a board meeting on the 13th, and the big topic of discussion was the preparation for the beach ball. That's a big fundraising activity that the Historical Society has. And this year it's going to be on October 23rd. And the motto is drive and dine and bid online. And the tickets are the same price as they've been in previous years, but what will happen is the participants will drive out to the Kings Creek Country Club, pick up their the meal. It'll be a full course meal, surf and turf, everything, and they'll throw in a bottle of wine for every ticket and some few party favors, and you can go back home and turn on your computer and listen to live music coming from the Kings Creek Country Club. No, coming from you listen to live music. Anyway, I think it's going to be great. And then you can dial into the website and bid on items all night long until 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, the bidding stops. But find some friends or family and make an event out of it, and help us raise as much money as we can. The bidding is going to start on the 16th of October, And what you need to do is tune into the website, Rehoboth Beach Historical Museum, and wait for the logo. They're going to put a logo up when you can start buying tickets and tuning in. Click on the logo, and that'll take you to the auction. It'll take you to the items, and it'll be great. So tune up for October 23rd, everybody. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go to the liaison for Rehoboth Beach Main Street, Commissioner Sernowski.
Thanks, Mayor. President of the Board, Greer Manival, is on the line.
Go ahead, Greer.
There we are. I wanted to thank you all for having us on tonight. I just wanted to bring you up to date with the things that we're so excited about now with fall coming into play, and all the things that we're joining in with and helping with our town. The first thing that is happening is we'll be joining the Residents Homeowners Association this weekend for the upcoming annual picnic in Grove Park. Following that, we'll be joining the Streetscape group on Baltimore and Wilmington at the Convention Center, and looking forward to seeing people and meeting some other people and seeing what's come out of the meetings that have been going on. We'll be preparing with Camp Rehoboth, and we will actually be having a tent at their block party on Baltimore Avenue and participating with them. With the Chamber and with Carol, through our social media, we'll be helping to promote Sea Witch to all of our people and throughout the area. We'll be hosting the annual Community Unity Dinner at the Convention Center, and of course, we're hoping that that nothing will stop us from moving forward on these things. We'll be working with the VFW and the Rehoboth Homeowners Association, working on the Wreaths Over America, which is a new program dedicated to the veterans and setting wreaths in the cemetery, and that'll be coming up in December. We'll also be supporting the fire department with the Rehoboth annual Christmas parade, and of course promoting also through our website, in addition to the Sea Witch, which I mentioned, the Scarecrow Trail October sidewalk sales, the Dogs on the Boardwalk, and of course the Jazz Fest, which we're very excited about. We are busy in-house spreading the news about Rehoboth history, and all through the wonderful diorama that Paul Lovitz put together, and it's ever expanding. So we're encouraging everybody to, even if they've been there, to come back, because it keeps on growing and keeps on getting better, and looking forward to having more and more both citizens and visitors alike to come and see that. Through the website, we've also been having the guide to downtown, which we had distributed throughout the city. It is now online, including all of the coupons, which will continue through the year. That's 23 pages of it, and you can click right onto it, onto our website. The other thing that we've done is we are revising and updating a lot of downtown Rehoboth places, including, of course, the library, which we love, the museum, the farmers market, the Chamber of Commerce, the Fire and Police Department, of course, City Hall. And we want to link, and we're linking to all of their website, and BB Hospital, so that when visitors come to town, they can gain access to all that Rehoboth Beach has to offer. So I want to thank you very much for having us on today.
Thank you very much.
If you don't mind, I'd just like to add one other piece that I think people would be interested in. As the city breaks down the pedestrian walkway barriers towards the end of this month. 25 of the planters will be deployed along Baltimore, Wilmington, and Rehoboth Avenues, and 10 will be placed in storage for possible deployment in the next year or so. So just like to let people know about that, and hopefully that'll help brighten up those streets a little bit more than they already have.
Very good. Thank you, Greer. Thank you, Commissioner Chernowski. With that, we'll go to the liaison of Cape and Elwood Senior Center, which was former Commissioner Dick Byrne. Obviously, we need somebody to fill that position. It doesn't take too much time. It's just checking in with them periodically. I did check in with Linda, and of course, the Cape and Elwood Senior Center is open. They're not necessarily back to 100%. And disappointing to me is there's no pancake breakfast scheduled yet, so stay tuned. With that, we'll go to old business. If you recall my mention at the beginning, we're going to reorder this and take the Santa House first. We're going to consider purchase of the Santa House from the Rehoboth Beach, Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce. If you recall the conversation where this was introduced at the last meeting, we adopted an unattended display policy, which meant that private displays were not allowed, and unattended private displays were not allowed on city property. So by doing that, we ended up knocking out the ability to put the Santa House back on the boardwalk, where it's been a favorite for many years. And one of the resolutions of that is that the city construct or buy their own Santa House, or buy it from the Chamber of Commerce. And they have graciously agreed to sell it to the city. Carol, you and I can talk in a few minutes about what is an acceptable price. Would you like to offer any comments first, Carol, before we go to the commissioners?
Yes. Well, what I can tell you is the price, there's agreement. We just want to make this proper. So $1 would make it proper. That is a sale for the amount of $1. And we also did notice that there was about 4 displays that light by the Santa's house, which just draws attention to it and gives it a little sparkle. We could certainly put those in with the purchase of the Santa house. And we would want to and would be willing to manage, which means, you have to have Santas, it has to be decorated, there has to be giveaways, all of those types of things would be something the chamber would be responsible for.
Very good. Thank you, Carol. So again, we talked about this at the last meeting. Is there any members of the public that has any input? Let's see, Tom West, Carol Everhart, Dan Greer, Walter, do you have anything? Nope. Rick Perry, do you have any comments on the Santa House? How about Frank Cooper? Anything on the Santa House?
No comment, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we'll go to the commissioners for discussion, and at some point, I would like to entertain a motion for authorizing the city manager to purchase the Chamber of Commerce Santa House for and some associated lighted displays for $1. And if you care to, you can augment that motion with and ask the Chamber of Commerce to manage the Santa's house. Any discussion?
Question for Glenn. Is this something that you would think would require an MOU for the management of the Santa House, or just something that would fall under the prerogative and direction of the city manager on a yearly basis?
Well, I think it depends on how extensive the management is. I want to first take a look at our unintended display policy to be certain that we can have that arrangement with the chamber. Because remember, the unintended display policy grew out of a settlement of prior litigation. I want to make sure that the chamber's involvement in that role doesn't somehow violate the unintended display policy that we have. So what I would like to see, I guess, Mayor.
Well, I have Max Walton has analyzed this. Read that real quick, if you would, see if that answers that. Because, yeah, we don't want to do anything that violates.
I'd forgotten we already looked at that issue. Yeah, okay. So I think that it's probably something that's under the prerogative of the city manager. I don't think would be necessary to have a MOU for the chamber's management of it unless it's something that the city manager felt was necessary.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And remember, one of the things that I brought this back on the agenda, there was consensus last time, or unanimous consensus to move forward with this, but what I wanted to do is formalize purchase of it so that we indeed owned it. And that's why I brought it back. Is there any additional discussion? Yes, Commissioner Sharp, please.
Mayor, could you elaborate, aside from the $1 purchase price, are there additional costs that will be borne by the city that will support storage or mentioned giveaways? What are the additional costs, if any?
Yes, Commissioner. When we introduced this topic at the last meeting, we mentioned that indeed there are costs. That costs would include pickup and delivery.
I'm sorry, but Mayor, I can't hear you at all.
That's all right. How about now?
Now.
Okay. We mentioned this at the last meeting, so I'll be glad to reiterate it now. Yes, indeed, there are costs associated with it. Includes delivery and pickup because it's too big for the city to do. And we need to contract an outside company that they use now. And besides that, the maintenance would be on us. Maintenance would include, of course, any cleaning and painting. Also, the costs include clear wrap. That is conducted by a boat company that does shrink wrap, and they would wrap the whole thing. That's, I think we learned from experience that in years past, when the city did store it themselves without the wrap in their own yard, vermin got all in it and ate it up, and there were extensive repairs to it. So there are costs. They could be estimated up to $5,000 a year. And so, yes, there is a cost to it.
That's what I was looking for. It's somewhere in the ballpark. Do you think it's fair to say between $5,000 and $10,000 a year, or do you think closer to $5,000?
Carol Everhart, are you there? Could you help me out? I believe you had
Yes.
said between.
Yes, I certainly can. Total cost, even with all of the giveaways, the maintenance, and all of that, has never exceeded $4,700. Okay. Now, most of that cost is actually for Santa, the decorations, the giveaways to the kids. The moving of it and that type of thing is not what creates the large cost. We work with Coastal Towing or someone like that to move it, and a boat company to shrink wrap it. That is where the major cost is. Major cost comes from, Santa expects to receive remuneration for his duties, and there's a lot of giveaways, thousands of kids, so we give them all something.
But Carol, just to put a fine point on it, that total amount has never exceeded more than $5,000.
No, the most we've ever paid with everything, Santa giveaways, the whole thing is $4,722.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And hopefully that amount would be a little less because Chamber of Commerce obviously is probably paying for maintenance, whereas we should have that ability to do it in-house. Are there any further questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, can we
Commissioner
just
LeGree?
have Carol clarify that she will continue to pay Santa and really the city is just paying for the shrink wrap and moving?
Well, this
Yeah,
whole
we-
motion, she can do that, but this whole motion is to the purchase
Right.
of the Santa House. Go ahead, Carol, would you be willing to?
No, I was just going to add that that's something we always do. We manage all of that. The management, the cost is mostly in the decorating, the cost of Santa, the giveaways. Occasionally, we've had to repair electric down there, even though it was city, we did pay for that. And even with that, you know, it was never 4,700. If it's shrink wrapped, it doesn't require the amount of maintenance. That's why we started doing that. It was much more cost effective to shrink wrap it than to sit at some place and think you were going to have a small maintenance cost.
Mayor, I'm still unclear whether we are paying for Santa and or the chamber is going forward.
We are not paying for Santa. We are not.
So our total cost is not going to be more than 1,500 on an annual basis. Is that fair, Carol?
I would go possibly up to 2,000.
Okay.
Should be more than that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I'm okay with that.
Well,
Not what we're voting.
I think I asked the original question and now I'm confused.
Yeah.
I thought what the city would be kicking in going forward would be a little bit less than $5,000.
Correct.
Okay, am I hearing two different things?
Well, if you combined everything, the part that the city would not have any cost associated with it would be management. That's decorating, that's paying for Santa, that's giveaways. That's the bulk of the cost of running Santa's house. And of course, we staff it.
So just to confirm, Carol, the cost, if it's less than around 5,000, the city is paying 2,000 for the shrink wrap, maintenance, and storage, and the chamber is paying 3,000 for Santa and giveaways. Is that accurate?
It could go up to that amount for Santa and associated decorations and giveaways and all of that. Yes, that's accurate.
The city's only paying for maintenance, shrink wrap, removal, storage. Santa and giveaways are continued to be paid for by the chamber.
That would certainly be what we would like to see, yes.
I think that's clear now. Thank you.
Commissioner Sharp, is that clear?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion for the city to authorize the city manager to enter into agreement for purchase of the Santa House from the Chamber of Commerce for the amount of $1.
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded it? Who seconded it?
Susan.
Susan. So we have a motion by Commissioner Sernowski and a second by Commissioner Gay to authorize the city manager to purchase the Santa House from the Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1, and the deal to include some additional lighted displays. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Hold up your hand if you would, so we can do a count. One of the, and with that motion unanimously carries. Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you, everybody. We'll be glad, I'll be glad, and I'm sure others will be, to see Santa back on our boardwalk.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll go to the next item of old business, which is consider appointment of Dave Diefendorfer to the Street and Transportation Committee. This was nominated by, Dave was nominated by then Chair Commissioner Pat Caluzzi, and apparently they voted on acceptance of that nomination within their committee. And at the last meeting, we noted his nomination, and commissioners have had access to his application. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Dave Diefendorfer to a vacant seat on the Street and Transportation Committee.
Mayor, I move to appoint Dave Diefendorfer to the Streets and Transportation Committee.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gay and a second by Commissioner Patrick Gossett to appoint Dave Diefendorfer to the Street and Transportation Committee. Is there any further discussion? If not, are there any members of the public that would like to speak up? Walter? Nope. Richard Perry? Frank Cooper?
None, thank you.
Nope. All righty, thank you. With that, we'll do a group vote. All those in favor of appointment of Dave Diefendorfer, Street and Transportation Committee, signify by saying aye. Hold your hand up.
Aye.
We can count. Hold your hand up enough so I can count. There we go. Thank you. And the vote is unanimous. Dave Diefendorfer is appointed. With that, we'll go to the next item of old business, which is to consider commission and board memberships and appointments and reappointments. If you recall, at the last meeting, I introduced my nominations for vacant seats or reappointments, and they are as follows. For the Board of Adjustment, there's one seat up, and that's Barry Brandt. He wanted to be reappointed for the term 2021, 2024, and I am nominating for that. While I'm on that, I want to make a correction on your support document that says Randy Mason's term was 2020 to 2023. Just make a correction, if you would, that his term actually ends in 2022. With that, my nominations for the Parks and Shade Tree Commission are as follows. Francis Bunky Markert Jr. is the current chair. He filled a vacant seat, and his term expires in 2021, so he had a very short term. He's doing a good job, and he's willing to continue serving, so I am nominating him for reappointment for the 2021 to 2024 seat. With that also, I nominate Edie Heron as a new appointment for a term 2021 to 2024. For the Planning Commission, there are 3 seats up for appointment. I'd like to nominate Mike Strange, who currently holds a seat and has done a good job. I'd like to reappoint him for the term 2021 to 2024. Also like to nominate John Dewey. He is a new appointment for the term 2021 to 2024. And I'd also like to nominate Nan Hunter as a new appointment for 2021 to 2024. I'd like to reiterate that, as I did at the last meeting where I introduced these nominees, that the chairs are fully aware of my nominations and are very supportive and agreeable to their nominations. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint that particular slate to the Board of Adjustment, Parks and Shade Tree Commission, and Planning Commission before we then have any discussion.
Mayor, I move to approve the slate as you just stated and as is embedded in the documents. Or
Thank you.
The agenda.
Any second?
Second.
Patrick got to it first. Commissioner Ed, we have a motion by Commissioner Srnowski and a second by Commissioner Gossett to approve the slate of appointees and reappointees as noted. Is there any further discussion? Want to go to the members of the public? Walter, do you have anything? Nope. Rick Perry, are you on? Frank Cooper?
No, I approve the new nominees and congratulate them on their positions.
Thank you, Frank. With that, we'll go to try a group vote. All those in favor of approving the motion to adopt all the appointees and reappointees that have been mentioned, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Hold your hand up. Count everybody. Everybody's here, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you to those that have applied for all the committees, commissions, and boards, and in particular to those that just got nominated. With that, I want to just take 1 minute to address the second part of this status on solicitation of committee chairs and members. Want to remind all the commissioners that we have now a vacant chair seat for the Animal Issues Committee. We're looking for a chair. Ed Shranowski, you agreed to step into the vacant chair position for the Environment Committee. Thank you for doing that. The Street and Transportation Committee also has a vacant chair position. If anybody's interested, in, please see me. And the Cape and Logan Senior Center has a vacant liaison. If you're interested in that, also please see me. With that, we'll go to the next item of old business.
Mayor, quick question.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, yes, sir.
Should I assume that have you appointed the chair of that environment committee, or is that something we have to vote on? I asked because I think they have a scheduled meeting before the next voting meeting that we have.
That's something that
Like
we actually
clarification.
talk about and vote on. So it's not on the agenda to vote today. So they're going to have to probably postpone it.
Okay,
But-
I just wanted some clarification
Yeah,
on that. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, with that, we're going to go to the next item of old business, which is consider adoption of a resolution setting a public hearing in the matter of amending Chapter 270 zoning, specifically 270-4, gross floor area, to clarify which commercial areas are to be included and excluded in calculating gross floor area. This was sponsored by Commissioners Gay and Gossett. Would you like to take the lead? I would like a quick summary reiterating the intent of this and confirming that there have been no changes since we last talked about it. If you recall, this was introduced, I think, 2 meetings ago, and then it was reintroduced with the second version, the previous meeting, and now we're at the point where we want to consider adoption of a resolution. Just for those that don't know, this is a particular code that is in the zoning chapter 270 and requires a public hearing, not just a simple vote to make amendments. And that's why we conduct a vote on a resolution to go to public hearing. Susan, do you want to, or Patrick?
I'll just briefly say, first of all, in answer to your question, no, there have not been any changes since the discussion at the workshop a few weeks ago. And I'll just reiterate, without going through the whole history, I'll just reiterate what we emphasized at the last meeting, which is that there are no zoning changes in this ordinance. It is a clarification of the way the interpretation's currently done and has been done in the past. I also will say, though, that I'm prepared to say more and show more and give examples at the public hearing. Commissioner Gossett, do you want to add anything to that?
Just supporting exactly what you said. There's no change in the intent of what the code has been revised to. It's just a simpler interpretation to conduct a listing so that there are specific definitions of what is and what is not included in the gross floor area. And again, it's a little more of a modern adaptation of our code to more current code interpretations that are used throughout other municipalities, trying to bring our code up to date. It's just a restating of existing code in just a more modern way. And again, as Commissioner Gay said, I will be also presenting additional material at the public hearing. This is simply a vote to set the public hearing.
Correct, and that should be emphasized. The earliest date that we can conduct a public hearing would be the 15th of October at our regular meeting at 2 o'clock. And just to reiterate what Commissioner Gossett has said, and I've mentioned earlier, that this is a amendment to the zoning code. It requires a public hearing. And so today's action would merely be to vote to set that public hearing on October 15th at 2 o'clock. And then at that time, we would conduct a public hearing, at which time additional discussion would likely take place. And it could conclude in a vote, or it could conclude in putting it on a future agenda for additional discussion. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution amending the Chapter 270-4 relating to commercial gross floor area, establishing a public hearing date of the 15th day of October, 2021 at 2:00 p.m.
So moved.
So moved and second.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Susan Gay and a second by Commissioner Gossett to adopt the resolution setting a public hearing be held on 15th of October, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. Such amendments relating to Section 270-4 relating to commercial gross floor area. Is there any further discussion by the commissioners?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So I disagree with the statements that Commissioner Gay and Commissioner Gossett just said. I do not believe that all of these items are currently in practice. And I don't think we're ready to go to public hearing on this. I'll give you a couple reasons why. Looking at line 32, where it specifically includes porches, balconies, decks, patios, pergolas, gazebos, canopies, whether covered or uncovered. I absolutely know for a fact that uncovered patios have not been included in the past. And when you go down to line number 40, number 10, elevators, elevator equipment rooms, and elevator shafts, that's a little ambiguous to me because it's, and including stairwells, they have both only ever been included at ground level, not each of the levels above ground. And you know, I'm going to use, unfortunately, I don't want to use them as an example, but they're the only recent one that I can look at. Let's say ClearSpace and Spotlight Building, for example. There is a patio on either side of one of those buildings connecting, so it's technically in between the two, but it's on one side of one of the buildings. That wasn't counted in gross floor area, and now under this change, it would be. This is a personal attack on ClearSpace. I think there's intended consequences here.
Point of order. We are here to vote on whether or not to have the resolution.
For those reasons, I don't think we should go to a public hearing because we're not ready.
Okay, and
What
I would
is currently in practice is not.
The information in the ordinance came to us from the Building and Licensing Department. Commissioner Gossett and I did not make it up.
Well, I just provided examples
one at a time. One at a time. So,
that we're
Commissioner
not
Gay,
ready to go to public meeting.
Well, and if
Commissioner
and I
Gay,
don't
you
know
have
if
the
we want to
floor.
have Mr. Janis speak today or wait until the next meeting or whatever. But all I'm saying is he verified that this is the way he interprets the code. Okay.
Well, you didn't.
And our role was as
hiding this.
messengers and as scribes for the content. Mr. Gossett, do you have anything to add
I
to
think
that?
there's consistency in behavior here and how you voted.
We'll just reiterate the fact that this has taken the exact code that we have in discussions with Mr. Janis, the chief building inspector, and also Glenn Mandalis, our city solicitor, to review the documents, and all are in order from way in which the current building inspector interprets this and is being applied. I think this is a discussion that should be held at a public hearing as opposed to trying to set a date for a public hearing. If we want to have a discussion, then the public hearing is the place to do that.
well, it's unfortunate. This has been in front of us twice and none of this has been brought up. Now it does, but I think it's important enough that we need to address it. I don't know.
It should be addressed, Mayor, it should be addressed at a public hearing. This is the third time we've addressed this, and these are the types of issues and questions that should be discussed in front of the public. That's a reason for a zoning code change in front of a public hearing. Let's take a vote.
And also, we're not obligated, you did say a few minutes ago, Mayor, we're not obligated to vote on it at the time of the public hearing. We can defer, or we can do a lot of other things that day.
Correct, correct. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to just make one other, in my doing research here, I pulled up the definition of gross floor area as defined by the International Building Code. And
again, Mayor, these are discussions that should be held at a public hearing.
No, this discussion is related to whether we're ready or not, if this is in good form to even be considered in a public hearing. So point of order, my comments are valid and I will continue making them.
That's not your decision.
We have adopted explicitly excludes vent shafts and interior courtyards. Both of those are now included in the revisions to the code that Commissioner Gay and Gossett just made. There's inconsistency in what has been done in the past and what we're being told is in practice, and we are not ready to go before to go to a public hearing as if this were in good and final form.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Sernowski, I want to inform you that I don't appreciate you just speaking out and talking over me.
I apologize, Mayor.
With that, because I give everybody a chance to speak, is there any further discussion from any commissioners? Commissioner Bennett, please.
Is this a change to the code or a clarification?
It's a clarification.
Okay.
That's how it's been developed, but with the Building and Licensing Department as a clarification.
So this language exists already, or this is new language based upon, is this where the hangup is?
Yes, it's augmented language. In other words, it's additional content to basically to prevent ambiguities that led to some previous court cases that the city won, but by clarifying it, we make that process more straightforward for building and licensing. That's my position anyway.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? If not, I'd like to go to the public. I don't think I've gone to the public yet. Walter, do you have any comments? Nothing on this. Rick Perry?
Yes, I would like to comment. I also agree with Commissioner Sernowski that this is not merely a restatement of current practice. And I do think that the Board of Commissioners should never put something forward to a public hearing where there is serious question as to whether or not this the proposal represents what it's purported to be. I, for one, as a former member of the Planning Commission and chair of the Planning Commission for a year, am very much aware of the fact that this does not reflect what has always been the practice of the Building and Licensing Department. It is a falsehood to say that. Mr. Sernowski was correct when he raised the most recent issue as it pertains to the plans that were submitted by ClearSpace. So much for your clear path forward. You all touted when you overturned the Planning Commission. There are so many discrepancies in here. It is incomplete, and I suggest that someone should consider the Oxford comma, because I can't figure out what covered and uncovered applies to certain things. I don't know what a covered canopy would be. And I think it needs to be entirely rewritten, despite the fact that it shouldn't even be done this way. And so I think before anyone represents that this reflects current practice or the historical practice of building and licensing, even in the recent past, that they should check their facts. And I don't think the public should be asked to participate in discussing and considering a proposal that has such great ramifications to this city, to its commercial future, and to the impact ultimately on the residents of this city, that you take more time to clearly consider exactly what it is you're proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Cooper? He may have dropped off. We'll go back. We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance relating to gross floor area, establishing a public hearing date of the 15th of October. I'm going to call the question in a minute. I do think it's been a good conversation because we've got at least two members of the public that have given us a heads up so that we can do a little more homework and present it at the public hearing and address it at the public hearing if need be, while soliciting additional public input at that public hearing. With that,
So Mayor, before you call the question,
yes, Commissioner Sharp, please.
is it fair to characterize that if the public hearing goes forward on October 15th, that there would be an in-depth history and discussion relevant to this issue so that everybody is hopefully on the same wavelength as we move into the depth of the public hearing? Is that fair? Is there enough time for whatever additional information, additional background, additional history that I would think would have to be the very first thing out of the gate? So I'm just curious if all this will work from a timing standpoint.
Well, we've got almost a month because the extra time is required to post a public hearing. And I guess I would defer, I would say yes, but I'd like to defer to Commissioner Gay and Gossett on responding.
Well, and I guess the reason I asked it is curious to me, although I will be very clear to say I did not listen to these discussions previously, to hear that there has been previous discussion about this, and to get here today and feel that there's not even consensus on what the action is that is being recommended. So I just want to be really clear before the vote of whether or not this can actually be discussed in the depth that it needs to be.
My feeling is that it can. Mr. Sharp, you're absolutely right. There's been extensive discussion about it, actually going back probably about a year, because we did this exact same model on the residential side. In fact, that was approved in March. And the only reason there was a 6-month delay beyond that is because there was this court case on some of these issues. But from my perspective, and yes, I will certainly delve more. I was already planning to present some things on the 15th, but I'll certainly delve more into some of the issues that have been raised today before that. But this comes after extensive work with building and licensing and extensive conversations among the commissioners over 2 or 3 meetings and over a year based on both residential and commercial.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gossett. You're muted.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to ask Commissioner Chernowski if he could put his comments or his concerns in writing to us, as each time he's brought out new issues when we discuss this. So in order to have this aspect be able to come to a close or a reason for discussions, if you could put your concerns of those issues in writing so that they can be reviewed by the chief building inspector and also by the city solicitor, so that we have a finite aspect of what we're dealing with. I'd appreciate that very much.
Well, and that should be done in advance, sufficient time to allow acting on it. That's a good idea. Any further commissioner comment? We've heard from the public. We've heard from the commissioners. I'd like to conduct a roll call vote on this. Again, the motion is to adopt the resolution setting a public hearing for the 15th of October, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. In the matter of consideration of amending Chapter and Section 270-4 relating to commercial gross floor area. Commissioner Gay,
Aye.
Commissioner Sernowski. Oh, you're muted. I'd like to hear your voice.
I think you can assume that I said nay.
Okay. Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett,
Aye.
Commissioner Legree,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, and the motion is carried. The resolution will be set for the 15th of October as noted. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go to the next item of old business, which is consider award of fiscal year 2022 street paving contract to George and Lynch, Inc. in the amount of $643,306.33. Kevin, do you want to give a little summary or? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, just as a point of quick review from the last meeting, when Evan presented the results of our bid opening, you can see the streets that we're planning to pave under this contract are highlighted in red on the graph. You may also remember that we had 4 really good bids, we thought, that came in, with George and Lynch being the apparent low bidder at the number you quoted earlier. Both the paving and the water main replacement that are part of this contract fell within our budgeted amount for this year. So with that, we're recommending the award of the paving contract to George and Lynch, Inc. in the amount of $643,306.33. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
We have any questions for Kevin Williams? I'll take that down if you don't mind, and then I'll be able to see faces. There we go. Any questions of Kevin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gossett, please.
Yes, Kevin, on the map that you showed, I questioned this last time. We're only going to pave half of the alley behind the library. And I guess we added that, I understand from Evan's comments, just because there was additional monies in the budget, or how was the decision made only to pave half of the street?
Thank you, Commissioner. As you'll note, part of that, the part behind from basically the library to where it adjoins Christian as it goes to the west is just in really bad shape, deteriorated greatly over the past couple of years, especially during the attempted construction of what was going to be agave there. So anyway, the road is in really...
Excuse me, I can hardly hear Kevin Williams.
Okay, is that better, Commissioner?
Yes.
All right, thanks. So that portion behind, basically from the library to the intersection of that alley with Christian Street is in such bad disrepair. It's tough for even folks that are trying to get down, the staff or whoever's going to park behind the library to get down there. So we wanted to get this to a point that's just an acceptable level of a street. We are not ready to do that entire alley until we do a lot of preliminary work toward the east of the library, down where there used to be an old stormwater vault and a pump station that pumped out to one of the lakes. So we're not ready to do that, but we did think we needed to make some repairs on that portion that folks use to get into and out of the library. So we just added that.
Is that a total resurfacing?
Yes, just for that section. It'll be a mill and overlay.
Okay. And is there a plan that I don't know how far you've looked ahead, to the completion of that other half of the alley?
So it's not in our next 3 or 4 years. This would be year 1 of our latest 5-year plan. It's not, because the road condition is really not in that bad a shape. It's the whole entirety of that alleyway that is in pretty bad shape with respect to dumpsters and the like. So it is not, in our short-term future to address the rest of that alley.
Thank you.
Any further comments from commissioners?
Kevin, did you say there was also stormwater drain that had to be redone in that alley? I might have missed that comment.
No, there was an old stormwater vault down at the east end of that alley that used to pump to one of the lakes. Some years ago, it was connected to, I think, the Delaware, probably the Wilmington Avenue, and then to the Delaware Avenue outfall. So it's been part of the effort we've been chasing down, with the bacteria, is what could be causing that, and that's a potential source for us. So we're actually investigating that area of the alleyway with respect to what, if anything, happens to water that's collected in that old vault. Does it just sit there? Does it migrate into, the old pipes that somehow get into the system? So we've got some work to do yet on just kind of tracing what's going on at that old vault site. There used to be a pump in there that would pump it. So there's a big concrete lid we have to lift off to be able to get in and kind of inspect that. So that's on our short-term future. We're going to do that this year to get a better idea of what's actually happening there. But that's the stormwater I was mentioning, earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? If not, I'd like to go to the public. Walter, do you have anything? Nope. Richard Perry, anything on street paving? Frank Cooper?
No, thank you.
Nothing. All righty. Thank you very much. With that, I would entertain a motion to award the street paving contract to George and Lynch in the amount of $643,306.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Srnowski and a second by Commissioner Jay Legree to award the street paving contract for fiscal year '22 to George and Lynch, Inc. in the amount of $643,306.33. All those in favor signify by saying aye and hold your hand up for a count.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. With that, there's been no new business identified. We do have commissioner and announcements and comments. First of all, I missed it at the beginning. I usually like to recognize staff in the room with me, or not even in the room with me necessarily. And just as a reminder that it takes a good crew to pull off a good meeting. I've got city manager here, Sharon Lynn, city solicitor Glenn Mandalis, police chief Keith Banks, Evan Miller, projects coordinator, Kevin Williams, public works supervisor, and Lynn Cohen, communications director. Thank you. And Ann Womack is down in her office. Thank you to everybody. With that, I wanted to make a quick note. Former Commissioner Dick Byrne, if you recall, chaired the Environmental Committee. They have secured the printing of tabletop signs. I think they got 2,000 of these printed, I believe. And I believe their program is the individual members will be going out and trying to market these to the restaurants to put on their dining tables for the request of straws available on request, et cetera. Congratulations to that committee. They've realized one of their goals there. With that, my last note is I put in there, I embedded in the agenda a letter from an initiative by the mayors of Lewis, Henlopen Acres, Rehoboth Beach, and Dewey Beach, seeking congressional support to fund and seek authorization from the Army Corps of Engineers to dredge the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal as it serves all four of our towns. And the canal is in dire need of cleaning up and dredging. You can read the letter, it's self-explanatory. Are there any other commissioner announcements or comments?
Mayor,
Commissioner Gossett and then Commissioner Srnowski.
Just a couple of things. One, I just want to congratulate City Manager Lynn and Bert Dukes on the new annual budget that should come out. It's quite a document. It's something that the city has been working on for quite some time, and just very proud of the staff at the city for putting this document together. It's a comprehensive annual financial report, and I think that it certainly says a lot for how the city has progressed over the years in its financial reporting, and it's some very wonderful information, not only about the financial status of the city, but also background on the city also. And then just to follow up on your comment, Mayor, about your letter to the Army Corps, I just say I'm personally distressed that the city has invested over $1 million in a dock at the city, and we have, through your letter, say that the canal is in such dire shape that hasn't been dredged in over 20 years. It just reinforces to me planning and development of a budget and a move forward of how things should fall into place with regards to appropriately spending funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comment? Commissioner Legree, no, I'm sorry, Commissioner Chernowsky and then Commissioner Legree. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and I personally would like to apologize if I spoke over you before. It is a little bit harder on these Zoom calls. First, I'd like to commend Evan Miller, who did a great job in our last meeting, stepping in for Kevin and Sharon in their absence. It's great to have young people doing a great job in our city. I'd also, just a question for Sharon, I forgot to ask earlier, where do we stand on the execution of that lease agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers? My understanding is that's still not executed?
The lease agreement has been returned. It's in its final version returned from the Corps. The city did sign that, and it's sent back to the Corps. We're waiting for their signature, which I hope will come as quickly as possible, hopefully next week. And then we'll have the final document to be able to show, and the folks at the water taxi will be able to start their legitimate service.
So yes, we have fulfilled our part in this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Chuck.
lastly, I'd just like to congratulate and welcome Commissioners Sharp and Bennett, and also thank Dick Byrne and
Pat Caluzzi.
Pat for their service to our town. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner
Mayor?
Legree, yes, sir.
I think you did a great thing when you sent that letter off about the dredging of the Lewis Rehoboth Canal. That is a huge project, and I suspect that's one of the reasons why they didn't attack it this time when they made their plans for the next 3 years of dredging. The projects that were approved are not too big projects, and they are much easier to attack than dredging of the Lewis Rehoboth Canal. This is going to be a big deal, and it's going to take a lot of money, and they're right now trying to figure out what they're going to do with the dredgings. I suspect that it'll take some out of the envelope solutions to dredge it. But I promise you, before too many years go by, it will have to be dredged, whether they attack it now or later or in the future. We're not going to let the canal silt in. I promise you, the canal will not silt in because the public won't allow it. So people are going to get to work on it. And the letter you and Joni and the letter that the mayors wrote is a good letter and a good way to get it started, and a good thing to get it up to Senator Carper and Kuhn, and also to Representative Rochester Blount. It's a great start, and we'll get it. We just need to keep pushing them. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further commissioner comments? If not, then we'll review future meeting dates. On my calendar, I've got this coming Monday, September 20th, beginning at 2 o'clock. It's a virtual special joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners, specifically to jointly address the status and path forward for the Comprehensive Development Plan. Next on the agenda is Streetscape, Wednesday, September 29th, 9 o'clock to noon is the public workshop for Streetscape. And then the Board of Commissioners workshop, next workshop will be October 4. And with that, we'll go to a citizen comment. This is an opportunity to talk about things off the agenda. We do have a 3-minute time limit. Is there anybody that'd like to talk? Walter? Yes, sir. Make sure that
afternoon.
microphone's working. Tap it.
It's on, I think.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Walter Birmingham, 123 Hamilton Avenue. I didn't intend to come to speak to this, but at the recent meeting when, without adverse comment from any of the commissioners sitting at the time, had the city manager pass allegedly or supposedly, or the plan was to generate the contract with Mr. Green and or whatever the company is that got the taxi. And there was no provisions, I guess, without going through freedom of information so that the public could read what that contract was going to say. And I doubt that any of the commissioners have it, but if they do, I apologize for that comment. And then interestingly enough, because we don't know what that contract said, are there provisions in there for lack of serviceability of the canal to be able to handle the taxi itself? So I think absolutely necessary, but I don't know that we'll get it. I'm asking that contract, a copy of that, be available without having to go through a FOIA to get it. Because we don't know what it says. Only you folks do, and I just think that's wrong. And I don't disagree with the fact of what you're doing here, but I think Commissioner Gossett might have been the one that just mentioned it. We should have been working on the canal and the depth, and nobody ever answered the questions of what was the draft of the taxi. And that should have been talked about before you got down to have we made provisions in the contract that if the canal's not fit, are they exempt from the contract? Otherwise, it's nice to be able to come back and see you all and be here, and it's been a very good season for Rehoboth. I have great concern. I'm not picking on the chief. It's a very unusual season. We don't have enough policemen. We don't have enough public workers. We have a hard time getting them. But we have the Hamilton Hotel complex area has now been re-enveloped with scaffolding. I don't know if an EDIS sign is going to go up against it or not. But I'm still concerned about the fact that there is no consistent law enforcement in Rehoboth with fire lanes. You can't get vehicles towed out of the way. It just needs to change. And the attitude of parking in the streets is just, there is no consistent policy that has been displayed, and vehicles should not be allowed to park in the street without being removed. And when the police department comes up in their own vehicles and parks in the middle of the damn street and doesn't even turn on their own warning lights, it's a sorry situation for everybody else to think, I can park there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Frank, Richard Perry, do you have any off-topic comments?
No, I don't, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Cooper?
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much. I do. I sent a letter, an email to virtually all the commissioners, save Commissioner Danowski, who I don't think would be in approval of what I'm trying to accomplish, about swimming pool noise. And I think in the last election, the majority of Rehoboth Beach citizens made a pretty strong statement for the principles of the preservation of our town and preservationist goals in general. And abating swimming pool noise was one of the big drivers of our movement. And so my question to the commissioners now, would you support putting a discussion of swimming pool noise and possible ban on new construction of swimming pools and or devices to mitigate the sound of swimming pools on the next workshop? And this is for each commissioner. What is your feeling about it? And should we put this on the agenda now? Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. This is obviously not on the agenda now, so it's not open for discussion. But I think, yes, we will all give it consideration. What I would like you to do is, if you would, forward your letter to Commissioner Chernowski. I think that he needs to have the same thing that we all have so that he can agree or disagree with it. So we'll give that some thought, Frank. Thank you very much. Commissioner Legree, did you want to say something?
Yes, sir. First off, I second what Mr. Cooper said, and I think you are correct in desiring to bring it back up. But we shouldn't leave here with the idea that the canal is not serviceable or navigable, because it is. And is the city manager present right now? Can I say with certainty that?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. We're on Frank's topic. Are you now reverting back to the previous?
I thought we were doing commissioner comments. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, is everybody finished with Frank? Thank you, Frank. Now, if you want,
is it possible? I was looking for a big discussion about it, but just as putting it on the agenda for discussion, is that?
Well, it's possible. I have to look at all the other agenda topics, Frank, and I'll give it consideration.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You want to go back to additional commissioner comments? Commissioner Legree, go ahead.
I don't think we need to leave the public with the idea that the canal is not navigable right now, or even close to not being navigable. And I would think that the water taxi, I could say, is navigable into the foreseeable future, because it doesn't have a very extensive draft. City manager, can I say that? Can I make that statement?
Certainly, Commissioner.
Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I don't think anybody has said it's not navigable. It needs attention.
I think Mr. Brenningham left us with the idea that it's close to being not navigable.
All right.
And that's not the case. And I don't think we should leave the public with that idea.
All righty. Thank you very much. Any further commissioner comments? If not, we finished citizen comments, and with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 3:43 p.m. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations to our new